We have done so far. Slurs, bow strokes, finger patterns. Yeah, more general bow strokes. Beth, do you have time to write up on a computer?
Please. Which one?
The one you wrote up very beautifully and handwritten.
Yeah.
It's amazing how much.
Oh, thanks.
It's amazing.
But
Makes me feel like I use my thumbs.
If not, say no.
no, it's okay.
Okay, thank you very much. Sorry, I wasn't clear. Right, so from the list, the original list of all the things that we put up, I'll just read it to you. Tone. Do you feel that you need a review of how we develop tone? I mean, I feel like we talk about that a lot, but we haven't sort of discussed it in this context. Do you want to?
How we develop tone. Sort of think I've got a little bit about that. I don't know.
Did you get a chance to watch the videos? I appreciate your honesty. I think they've all made it onto YouTube, although I upgraded my computer and then suddenly Photobooth stopped recording the whole thing, so there are some that are cut short, but they are there. Okay, anyone, let me rephrase, does anyone want to discuss tone and how we develop it through the repertoire?
Is that likely to come up in the exam?
Tone will definitely come up in the exam.
But
It
yeah,
hasn't
but-
really been tracked through the repertoire because it's not really something that is,
Individual.
yeah, but we can talk about it briefly in the way that they might expect you to. So, what are we thinking about? Well, just let's remind ourselves of the basics that we're teaching with tone. Just call out some ideas.
Rate of the bow, speed of the bow, and sounding point.
Excellent. So the tone triangle is a very kid-friendly way to put that, and we're talking about weight, speed, and distance.
Sounds familiar.
Good. And if you once you have a child, maybe towards the end of book one, the weight can be divided into squeezy bow hand and
Elbow.
heavy elbow. Great. What else are we teaching to do with tone?
Consistency.
Good. So from the start, what's the most basic Suzuki thing about tone? We want good tone. Yeah, it's so obvious we don't even think about it, but that is a very big difference from a lot of beginner teachers. Yeah, lots of people don't even think about trying to get a good sound out of their students for years.
I think what a good tone is, though, that's needs to be, described. Because
Yeah.
you say just make a good tone.
Yeah.
It's not very helpful.
Yeah, so I think that's a very good point. How can we do that with the students and their parents?
To listen to the
Demonstrations.
Good, demonstration. So to get good tone, demonstrate. And there's two types of demonstrations that are really helpful, aren't there?
There's wrong and right.
Ed Crichton does that thing with, whistly. If your left hand's not down it strong enough, you get a kind of whistle. If your if your right hand's too heavy, you get a kind of crunch. So is it a right hand problem or a left hand problem?
Yeah. So very good. I'm just going to backtrack 1 second. So demonstrating good sounds.
And bad sound.
We need to demonstrate it two ways, on our instrument and also on their instrument. Yeah, because your however many £1,000 violin is going to sound very different to their £120 16th size.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do grab it and say to them, let's see what the best sound I can make on this violin is. Now, can you make one that sounds similar? Because if you just say, can you match my sound? They're going to be like, well, no, obviously I can't. And the parents are going to think the same. Yeah? So demonstrating good sound, demonstrating good pens on theirs and yours. Good. So, diagnosing. I can't write today. Diagnosing. Diagnosing tone problems. I cannot tell you how many years it will take your students to understand clearly or remember clearly what tone is and what intonation is. So please don't just talk about tone and intonation. You have to make sure they understand and remember that tone is the quality of sound and intonation is whether your fingers are in tune or not.
Is that got anything to do with tones and semitones? That's just two words and that.
Yeah. Annoyingly. Talking of annoying. Go away! Right, so diagnosing tone problems. Left hand or right hand? Too much weight or not enough? What else might you have thinking about this? If you're trying to help the student understand why their sound is not good.
The speed of the bow is like too quick. So
Good.
Not got contact. I've had
Which might also mean, sorry, maybe too much bow. Yeah.
With Helen, I have a problem is that she likes to tilt the bow the wrong way. So the tilt of the bow, I mean you change it anyway when according to which part of the bow you're in, but I think sometimes they want to tilt it towards them.
Yeah.
And that's something I always say that is never right.
Yeah, absolutely. Bow tilted towards the bridge is never something that we teach or use.
And if you explain about why you need that much, you know, you haven't actually, you can see physically there's not enough hair in contact with the string. You can sort of show them if you're playing on the edge of the hair, you're not going to get, you know.
When I was a kid, I used to tilt away from the bridge too much. Like,
Yeah, so
really
the tilt
opposite way.
low can be quite,
yeah.
can be quite, that can make a difference
Yeah.
at this stage.
Who is teaching the bow stick right above the hair and who is teaching a slight tilt away? And if you're not teaching it, which do you think you would teach?
At first I teach flat hairs and then I let them tilt it a little bit if it goes naturally towards, go to that roadie-ish. And they've got a good control. And they're not.
I start to teach a bit more of a tilt when they're going in the lower half of the bow.
What do you think are the benefits of starting straight then? Flat?
Encourages them to use all the bow hairs and get that idea of connecting with the string.
Well, unless you're teaching extremely tilted, which would be incorrect, you're not going to change the amount of bow hair that you're using because of, like, we're talking maybe a 15-degree tilt. I don't think this is set in stone, but I think there's certainly a, you know, strong tradition of doing either in Suzuki and outside of Suzuki. But for me, the thing I found difficult was to get the wrist coming up unless I taught a little bow tilt and a curved wrist from the start, because I was realising that they were playing like this, and then it was really difficult to get that. Whereas so now I'm teaching with a slight tilt away from the start, and it just makes that coming up much easier when they're using.
The problem I've been finding, and I think it's because I've been playing with too much weight maybe, is that sometimes I end up with warping the bow. They've rolled over too much and they've got so much weight, the stick will warp.
I don't think that's them, that's just really cheap bows.
I think, I mean...
It takes a lot to warp a bow.
Yeah. I think, but a lot of it is also ask them, is that the sound you want to make as well?
Yeah.
And then sometimes, you know, so your ears are how do you know whether you're making a good sound? What your ears telling you?
Yeah. What else can we ask them?
Maybe like, is that a beautiful sound?
Yeah. Ed?
So if you're asking them if that sound you want to make, is that a beautiful sound?
Yeah. More versions of the same idea.
Oh right, okay. Is that the best sound you can make?
Good. Okay.
Without the sort of slightly disappointed parent side of it. Is that the best sound you can make?
How about, is that your best sound?
Yeah.
I don't know, but can you make the sound better or something?
Yeah. Can you improve it? Very good. Beth?
Is the sound ringing?
Good. I think better or even better. So talking about that, like removing that slightly sort of backhanded compliment thing. Can you make the sound even better implies that it's already good, but we can work on the project of improving it, rather than can you make it better, kind of could be interpreted as that's a shocking sound. Sorry Bex, what did you say? Is the sound ringing?
Is it? Yeah.
Good. Joe, I'm hoping you're going to complete this with the one I'm thinking of. No pressure. Belvedere. What did you say? Okay, who can get it?
Do you?
You.
Like.
Well done, we got there. I haven't got there with the ability to write, especially at the bottom part of the board. Do you like
That sound.
that sound? Or your sound?
But what if it sounds awful and they say yes?
You say, well, I'm glad you like it, but I think we can make it even better.
That's what
Or if they're doing it because they've been a little brat,
Yeah, that's what Helen would
then you
that.
say, do you really? And if they keep saying yes, then you can say, well, I don't actually believe that you really do. So let's see if we can make a sound. Or you can say, I'm a very fussy teacher, aren't I? It's really good for teachers to be extremely fussy. Why don't you see if you can make me think it's a good sound? If you already think that's a great sound, then lucky you. But I'm not so convinced yet. So how about we work on making it a sound that I will give you the thumbs up for? And then you can be like, yeah! Good. So in terms of through the repertoire, which pieces are we not worried about the sound in?
Which means we're not worried about the sound.
Go on, Ed.
I imagine we're worried about the sound in all of these.
Congratulations, exactly right. So this is not really a sort of charting it through the repertoire, but there are some pieces that are specifically like the pieces that you would go to if you were going to. So if say you've got a child in the minuets, or no, let's say you've got a child who's got to humoresque, and you realise that they just can't really make a decent sound for a book 3 student. What are the pieces you're going to pull out to, can someone take a picture of that and put it on the thing please, and then I will rub it out and write more. What are the pieces you're going to pull out? Well, let's remind ourselves first of all, if you've diagnosed there's something you want to work on, what is your basic approach to helping that child fix it?
compliment them on what they've done so far.
Good. I don't mean sort of all round good teaching practice. I mean literally, what are you going to do? So if you've got this kid who can't make a good sound in humoresque, what are you going to do about that? Not be careful of their ego. I totally appreciate that's very important. But in terms of actually like, what is your recipe for helping them fix that?
Find out assess what is creating the difficulty in a good sound.
Excellent. So find out what the problem is with their sound. Yeah. Good.
And work back through the repertoire to find a way of review to incorporate going through the repertoire, leading up to a good sound where you.
Great, that is the perfect answer, except can we extrapolate a little bit more, Kit? Rather than working back through the repertoire, what's going to be your approach for helping them check that they can make a good sound and develop it through the pieces that they know?
Maybe just picking a piece, not at the end of book one, work up, instead of going all the way back from the beginning.
Yes, exactly right, well done. So Bex, what's the first thing you're going to do? Sorry, I'm not looking at anyone, I'm just trying to make the board actually work. So what's going to be your first? I don't think Caroline got on step.
That's an alarm. That's a doorbell.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we're going to do first, we've diagnosed the problem, so we know what they need to change.
Find the first piece that has that technique in it.
Well, if we're talking about tone,
Twinkle.
it's all tone, isn't it? Good, even before that. So, one, diagnose, excellent. Diagnose the problem. Open strings. Okay, we're just going to go around the room. This is not really something that you can particularly get wrong because of what we talked about before, that it's all about tone. Twinkle. Good. Joe, what would be your next piece that you would choose if you were trying to improve tone in just general sort of big bows?
If it was a book 3, long ago.
Long ago. Good.
Book 1.
Bex?
I would have started with lightly row.
Yeah, could do. I mean, that's what I mean about there's no wrong answer. Like, if it's a book 3 piece, it depends. If it's a book 3 child, it depends how many pieces you want to go through. But moving forward, if we've gone to long ago, what would be your next choice for working on tone?
Probably another legato one.
Mm-hmm. You can think slightly sideways of the repertoire itself.
The tonalisation exercise.
Very good, well done. Okay, what else could you do that's not a piece in book 1?
Scale.
Sorry?
Scales.
Scales, good, could do. Excellent. Ed, another piece, please.
Judas.
Very good. Another thing that you could put in there, for example, if it was a book 2 kids, so you want more pieces, you could put your twinkles in D or your twinkles in G. Yeah, tonalisation in different, starting on different notes, etc. Good. Freya, what else could you do?
I was thinking Allegro, because it's like ringing the A string and
Yeah,
it's just like A and E and it's quite easy strings.
exactly. Very good. I'm not going to write that down because it's back up there, but good. And then, Mimi, from Judas, what would you do if you were working on your tone, particularly to get towards humoresque?
I'd probably do the French national anthem.
Yes, good. 2 Grenadiers, excellent. And what would be the other kind of exercises that you would want to do just to make sure that everything is working well. That's not really a kind of piece. It's one of those examples. I'm listening.
What's taking the
That hit parade one at the bottom of the page, 16.
there's an exercise where you have the open string and the third finger. There's the tonalisation. I think it's in the first page of book 2.
Good.
And or the fourth finger and the open string to draw attention to the octaves.
Excellent.
So that sort of gives you the tonalisation and the importance and the tuning as well.
Very
So
good.
get ringing
Very
of the
good.
finger.
Yeah, excellent. What physical exercises might you do, Ed, to check that your book 3 student is going to be able to get into the string for humoresque?
We need to get it depends on the part of humoresque, right? So if you
Okay,
take
let's say do 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 do.
on the G string, yeah. So you want to get the you want to make sure the violin's up in the nice tone. You want to be able to get the elbow swung round, so it's
How can you help them with that? Yeah.
Like even just the seesaws right back at the beginning and making sure the seesaws are accurate on the bridge in the right angle.
Very good. Yeah. Joe, what else might you do?
I would do that exercise I did the other day with the coin.
Good. Yeah.
And encourage it to the heel.
Yeah, very good. You might ask them, can you give me your elbow? Some kids find that really difficult. Can you do the like hold your arm up and can you actually let it drop? Not and then put it down. Yeah. It's about isolating the right muscles so that you can release the weight of the arm without dropping the bow. Yeah, makes sense. Retakes are really good for that because you have that sort of general feeling of release, but obviously you don't fling your bow across the room. And then you can go from retakes, yeah, and then into whole bows separated, and then into
Oh, they're also
and twinkle in third position starting on G2 for that bit. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're practicing
I think
that tone.
I think harmonics are useful for tone production as well.
Yes.
Because obviously they're such. The finger's got to be in exactly the right place, but it requires no pressure, so you've got no tension in the left hand. But the bow's got to be exactly in the right position, by the close to the bridge with the right weight. Otherwise, otherwise it won't sound. And actually, I think viola players. I mean, the lower string instruments use harmonics a lot for sound to find it.
Yeah.
But I think it's just as useful on the violin as well.
Great.
For you've got a thicker string. If you've done that. And sort of almost drawing attention to the roundness of the string. So you sort of think of bowing on different sides of the string.
Yeah.
It's obviously a bit more sophisticated, but.
Good. Any questions?
You could also do that thing that, when you put the paper on the string that you showed us.
Oh,
the
yes.
butterfly thing,
The
that's a
little-
good one, yeah.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's a visual.
Yeah, that is a really good one.
Butterfly thing.
You make a little butterfly and you
I'll show you.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Can someone tear off a tiny little bit of paper for me? The thing about it is that, thank you, on a big violin, the resonance is such that you will probably get it enough to go off anyway. And we don't have a small violin to demonstrate. Bex, can you just turn the computer this way, please? But what you want to do is fold a little tent of paper like that and put it on the G string between the fingerboard and where you're going to bow. And so then you can show them okay, let's try with a 2. You can't get the resonance that's going to make this go off. And on a small violin you can say, what about an out of tune 3? I'm trying not to make it go. And then you can make it fly off because the resonance makes the G string move so much. So that's really good for intonation and tone, which obviously becomes very much, interdependent. Is that right? Good. And you can make them into butterflies or bats or whatever you want, if you want to actually make some Okay? Great. Jo, would you take one more picture, please? Okay, any more questions about tone?
What does it say above, below harmonics? Is that C?
Seesaws. Just
Seesaws.
doing the string crossing without making any sound.
Is that on the bridge?
Can
Did you
be,
say
or
it
just
was
on
Yeah.
the string. Okay, we have not tracked retakes. We have not tracked pizzicato. We have not. Have we done double stops? We may have done it sort of alongside something else. They're kind of a bit small and bitty, those ones.
No, we haven't done that one. Done the pizza.
Finger patterns we did lots. Shifting we haven't really done. Harmonics we haven't done. I think maybe we should do another big one for the rest of the session now, and then next week maybe we'll do sort of some of the little bits and pieces, because things like extensions, double stops, pizzicato, harmonics, they're all sort of only 3 or 4 pieces each, aren't they? So it's quite rapid to get through them. Do you want to discuss intonation in the same kind of way? Do you feel that
with tone,
like in terms of how would you address if you realise that your book 3 student, for example, or book 7 student, or whoever is not playing as in tune as you'd like? Or I mean, it's kind of the same apart from what the actual exercises are that you would do and what pieces are.
It's so similar, isn't it, with the tracking of where the ring notes and the tone will come through. So starting with the bump with the twinkles and
Yeah, exactly. I mean,
as
with
using
any kind of major issue, it's the process that you need to be clear on, of going right back to the beginning, making sure you can do it. So without writing it all up, if we were talking about intonation, Bex, how would you start? What's the equivalent in intonation of the open string with a good sound that would make sure that you actually have a student who understands what they need to understand to play in tune?
You can
Let's say they're end of book 1, so they can play.
Yeah. Do the notes which like G, D, A, and E, so they can check it with the open strings and so they get the maximum resonance.
Good. So can they actually hear when it's in tune, when it's ringing,
Yeah,
when it's not?
and check it with the octave.
Very good. Check it with the octave. Excellent. Kit, what else would you do to check that they understand basic intonation?
Or if they can just in general hear the notes not off and all that.
Good. So how would you do that?
Or if they've got lines, I'm sure they can violate them sure it's on the lines and
Good. So check if they're using stripes, which they probably still are, that the stripes are in tune and that they can find, you know, whether the finger is on the stripe or not. We are using 3mm vinyl tapes, I remind you. Those massive 5mm ones don't help you play in tune. Well, they do help you play, not out of tune, but they don't actually show you where the fingertip really needs to be. So you want the 3mm ones. Freya, what else would you do as a kind of basic check, or could you do? So you've talked about resonant notes, you've talked about listening to what the fingers look like on the tapes, and does it sound right? What else could you do as a sort of checking exercise?
Maybe like play a scale, like an A major scale, like you could even like play it with them to see if they can hear if it's in tune with you.
Very
just,
good.
I don't know, just that, like, even if they just played it alone, you could just like target and just see if there's something happening, like maybe they're just uncomfortable with their twos or something, higher level twos.
Excellent. So basically with your very basic intonation, you're checking 2 things on you. You're checking, are the fingers do they have the dexterity to put the fingers in the right place? So if you have a tape, can they put it exactly on the tape? Can they, once they're doing high twos and low twos, can they move their twos around? Are they actually getting them back into the right place, or is it just then flopping in the middle somewhere? And can they hear whether it is right or not? And different students will be better at different things. Maybe can you give us a listening exercise that would check whether they hear if it's in tune or not?
Well, I suppose you can play play a note, so third finger on the A string or something, and see if they can copy it.
Yeah,
So if
very
it's-
good.
I mean, I quite like to get them involved with the tuning process.
Yeah,
in their
excellent.
instrument. So, you know, if it's really badly out of tune, I'll compare it to my instrument. Hopefully that's in tune. So, what do you think? Does it match?
Yeah, great. So does it match is really a really good basic exercise. You play, I play, you play. Is it the same? Can you make it exactly the same? Slightly different from listening to the ringing and the open string octaves. And then the other thing that's really great, Ed, do you know what this is, or would you like me to say?
I don't know. I mean, I'd probably go bad teacher and see if you can hear.
Yes!
Yeah.
What a team. Yeah, exactly. Play something that has some wrong notes in it, and can they wave the flag or scream or put their hand up or whichever version you want to play, but can they identify when you're doing it wrong? Because if they can't hear it when you're doing it wrong, they can't hear it when they're doing it wrong. And so that's what you then need to work on. And how would you, if you have a child who, you know, every child I think pretty much will hear if you play a C sharp instead of a D, you know, in Twinkle in G major, for example. But once you get it a little bit more sophisticated and you're playing a little bit out of tune and you notice that they're not waving the flag, what can you do to help them develop that skill? Anyone? Get them to sing it, very good.
Get them to listen to it more as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
probably
listening,
means they're
not listening.
they're not doing enough listening.
Yeah.
What's the main, the most useful way that you know what's happening at home? Ask them. What are you asking them every lesson?
Are you listening? And how much are you listening?
Yeah, how many times have you listened this week? Not, are you listening? Yes, I'm listening. I mean, that could even mean, right at this moment, I'm listening to what you're saying. Yeah. Could mean I'm listening to Classic FM. Could mean I've put the CD on and listened to it once this month.
Could mean I'm watching that Filipino guy on YouTube.
Yeah. Could mean all sorts of things. So, how many times have you listened to your recording this week? Yeah. And the other question, obviously,
How many times have you practiced?
how many times have you practiced this week? Yeah, exactly. And then every so often, are you getting through everything I've asked you to do? Are you doing your boxes? Are you doing your sight reading? You know, you don't need to grill them about what it means to be doing a practice every week, but you do want to check in every so often. When I say, how many practices have you done? And you say 6, and I say, oh, amazing. Does that mean that you've actually done 2 pieces 6 times this week? Or does that actually mean that you are rotating your reviews, doing your sight reading, doing your boxes, working on a piece for a solo maybe, playing your working piece in sections or having a go at the whole thing or whatever? Doing a proper full practice. Yeah? Good. So, listening, playing back, copying, and then the process is the same as what we just talked about for tone, isn't it? Can you play a twinkle perfectly in tune? You can play the flag game. You can ask them what I like to call the when they're in charge of whether they stop or not is musical statues. So if you hear that you haven't done it perfectly in tune, you have to become a musical statue. So they might play 4 notes, well, either 3 notes or 5 notes in Twinkle, unless they're eased out of tune, and then stop. And you, oh, why did you stop? Oh, well, my 3 wasn't on the tape, or my 3 wasn't in tune. Oh, okay. Do you see what I mean? Okay. So I'll be your someone instructs me. Okay, so I have problems with my intonation. I'll play busy, busy, stop, stop. So if we're playing, so Joe, can you describe what I was just describing to you? Do you use this game? Do you already know? Does anyone already know what I'm talking about?
I know about musical statues, but not in this.
So it's not the same as when the tape stops and then you have to become a statue, but it's like, so okay, so I will just pretend you're all my students. So we're going to play musical statues, but a special version, which is to work on your intonation. So you're going to play me a really super easy piece, like which is your favourite Twinkle variation, Bex?
Stop pony.
Okay, so you're going to play stop pony, but if you hear that one of your fingers is being naughty and hasn't gone in the right place, you have to become a statue straight away. And we'll see how far you can get. So then you might have, and then you go, oh wow, that was such great listening. So you focus always on the positive. What they've proved to you is that they can hear that it wasn't in tune, rather than, oh, yeah, your one was really out of tune, wasn't it? Let's see if we can do it better. So well done, you realised that your one was being naughty. Let's see if you can get a little bit further this time. Be really careful where you put that one. And if you've got someone who's really finding it difficult, let's just find that one. Can you play it back to me? Does it sound the same? Are you happy with where it goes? Is you're taking the right place? All of those kind of checking things. And then off you go. And then once they're getting good at it, you can say, right, this time if you can get all the way to the end without having to become a statue, I'll give you a sticker. And that may be 5 minutes later, that may be 2 weeks later, that might be half a term later. Alright? Good. And then you work through the repertoire, you know, I mean, all of the pieces obviously have to be in tune, and book one is designed to help you have maximum resonance for tone and intonation, so they can basically almost choose any piece and it will give you the opportunity to do that work. So you can be sort of guided by them. But obviously the trickier the piece, the harder it is to focus just on intonation. So yes, Etude is a great choice because it's in G major and it uses all 4 strings and it's got lovely resonance, but it's a really difficult choice because it's got a really complicated string crossing, difficult fingers, it's hard to remember, so you know, you will not be setting your child up to succeed at that exercise unless they're already really good at Etude.
I like the patronation.
Yeah, so that would be a much better choice if you've got someone who knows it well and is just thinking about where their 2s are going to go, or you know, making sure the 4's in tune or whatever. Any questions?
How long would you do that game for? I mean, for instance, I mean, if they've really got tuning problems, would they be
25 minutes out of 30.
we would see?
Not the lesson, sorry, the musical statues game.
Yeah, I mean, but how, you know, if they're really struggling to hear, would you just sort of do 3 or 4 notes, or and then move on to something else, or just or just a little bit every week like that?
No, I think I would use the bulk of the lesson to work on their intonation,
Yeah.
but we wouldn't be doing the game where they just try and try and try, because then you're setting them up to fail, so you always want to set them up to succeed. So it would be more like doing more copying, more playing back. Can I do the first 4 notes of Twinkle? Can you do the same 4 notes of Twinkle? Do they match? Okay, let's try the next 4. Or whatever piece you're working on, patch motion, or you know, Vivaldi and minor.
Yeah.
Oh, the smoke is going to be right in Holland.
I thought someone was smoking.
Yeah.
It really stinks.
Hopefully it won't take too long. So yeah, that would be the bulk of most lessons. I mean, the thing is, if you've got your eye and ear on their intonation, you won't get to the stage where you go, oh my goodness, they can't play in tune, because you will have realised that ahead of time. But you know, you may take on a student from someone else. You might have a student that has broken their wrist and comes back having not done any listening, even though you asked the parent to keep listening while they weren't having lessons, and they need this kind of, you know, remedial work. They might need it. You might realise that actually you thought your student was playing in tune because they had good oral skills, but when they change violin size, they suddenly play out of tune because they're just putting their fingers where they were before. So then you have to do the same thing about listening and adjusting, because you realise, oh, actually they were playing in tune because their motor neuron skills are really high, but they're not actually listening for whether it's in tune or not, they're just putting the fingers down where they always went. Yeah, and exactly. Any other questions? Okay, good. Let's do retakes, because it's sort of important but also not too long. Sort of important. It is important. But doesn't take too long. We have a photo of that one, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah, I think that's the last one we did, because I'm not writing all that last bit I was talking about. Tone?
Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay, so someone on level 1, first retake comes in.
Some of the wind.
Very good. Second retake, Kit. What's after Song of the Wind?
Song of the Wind. Go Tell Aunt Rhodey.
Good. Any retakes in that? No. Next piece, Bex.
After Go Tell Aunt Rhodey, it's So Come Little Children.
Good.
There are
Any
no
retakes?
retakes, no.
No retakes.
Thanks.
Freya, next piece.
Maison.
Good. Any retakes? No. Good. Ed, next piece.
I'm hoping it's a Lego. My brain is not there.
Where did we get up to? Mason.
Long ago.
Long ago.
There's one.
There is, yes. So, Song of the Wind. God, I wish that person would stop doing that. Long ago.
Getting closer.
Next piece, Ed, is.
May I say Allegro?
You may say Allegro now.
Thank you very much.
And we might do that, mightn't we? What's special about the Long Ago retake?
Different string.
Very good. So you leave the A and land on the E, whereas Song of the Wind you have left and gone back to the same string. And Allegro is a combination. Yeah? Good. Maybe next piece after Allegro.
Is Allegretto?
Nope.
No.
Freya? Well done. Any retakes?
Oh, sorry, I thought you meant the
Maybe
retake.
between the single and double.
Is that?
No, there isn't. There's no retakes.
Joe, try not to give everyone the answer.
No, I wasn't looking at that.
It would have been impossible not to see. Anyway, no retakes, good. Okay, so yes, thank you, Mimi and Antino, and Allegretto, and tell us about the retakes.
It's
The new thing about it is that it's on the.
on the D string.
Well done.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Next piece, Joe.
Oh, in general, next week.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. And then
It's the same question. Yes. Does it
And
have
no.
any retakes in it?
no.
No, you're right. No, it doesn't. I literally had to go through the whole piece to. Sorry. Shouldn't have doubted you. Well done. Next piece, Bex.
Etude?
Good. Any retakes?
No. I don't think so. Oh.
Yes, one. But because the end of etude is not doubles, is it? Dum
yeah.
dum 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 dum.
Yeah.
Doo-doo-doo-doo. So, and the new
That's
thing
a
about
trick
it is. The new thing about it, Bex, is.
Oh, it's ending on a G and then going to an A, so it's missing a string in between.
Excellent. It's your first G retake.
Yeah.
Good. Kit, next piece.
Minuet 1.
Good. Any retakes?
Yes.
Yes. Excellent. Anything very exciting?
Don't think so.
Joe, stop it.
Sorry. I'm tired. I'm sorry.
I don't think so.
No, good. Ed, next piece.
Too.
Well done. Anything exciting?
It's the second one.
About the retakes? There is something slightly exciting about the retakes. Something you actually. Well done. Yeah.
So just
What's-
coming before that.
Yeah.
So you come down off the scale quite fast and then the retake onto
And it's a very small retake on the D string. That's what's
it's
very slightly special about
And
it.
there's no rest.
Good. Oh, we have had pieces with retakes without rests before, haven't we?
Allegro.
Yes. Etude.
Yeah.
Allegretto. Anyway. Yes, and Minuet 3, obviously, yes. Happy Farmer. Any retakes? No, well done. God's sake of what?
All of
All of
these.
All the retakes. So in terms of the special retake pieces, Song of the Wind, Allegro, Gossek. Book 2 special retake pieces.
Special.
Yeah, I mean, if you were working on retakes with a end of book 3 student, what would you pull out from book 2?
Mignon.
Good. Anything else?
Two grenadiers.
Yes. Why?
Very little ones.
Yeah, and hard.
Quite hard to.
It's very easy to hear.
Yeah.
That's where I was saying tentatively in my head, I would add a star to Minuet 2 for that reason. For that double down. Yeah.
Could do. I don't think it's so important that
Okay.
it would. If you think about Song of the Wind, it's your first retakes, and there are loads of them. Allegro is your first long bow retakes, changing string, and there are loads of them. Gossek Carotte is the first piece with loads of like all different types, different strings, different bow strokes beforehand. Whereas Minuet 2 doesn't, that little bit you would need to do, yes, but it doesn't sort of qualify as one of the big retake club pieces.
Don't put that in my head, please.
So, 2 grenadiers.
Mignon and...
I mean, Witch's Dance maybe,
Yeah.
but not really. It's not the hardest thing about it, is it? Mignon definitely. Someone to sing it for our level 1s. So many. So many. Good. Any others? What comes after Mignon? In fact, let's just do this test for book 2. First piece.
The lily one, isn't there? So that just before the second half.
Yeah.
After the trill.
Same double down.
Yeah, it's a similar double down to the Minuet 2 one. I don't think we need to put it in the big club. Joe, first piece in book 2?
Do this?
Yes. Bex, do you know the second piece in book 2? You do not have to.
I'm not sure.
Okay. Ed?
Music.
Good. Freya, do you know the third piece?
No idea.
Okay, no worries. You are not at any obligation to know that. Mimi, however, is. Thank you. Fourth piece, Joe? Well done. Fifth?
That's what I would have done for tone as well.
Yes.
Yes.
After we've done Hands, Bolts, it's not boring, just the one before.
You had a sneak preview in book 1.
Yeah, so it's that one. long ago.
Yes.
Yeah.
Next.
Is it B flat perpetual motion?
Oh, very good.
Is that right then?
Is it there? Where is
Is it
it?
there, is it?
I think it's after Bure actually.
Is it boring?
Okay,
so
But that's very good. Well done. So Bure is next. Next
I mix
piece.
them round because Waltz is after long ago but before Beret.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That was my fault.
Yeah. That's why I'm confused.
And then it's Beret and then
Long, Hunter's Chorus.
yeah.
Long
Then
ago.
Long ago
It
it
was
was.
Bure.
Sorry,
Bure.
yes, I did not pull on that.
boring.
You said it with such confidence.
Yes,
I
I
didn't
did.
even think about it. I just.
But I
Yeah.
acted myself with such confidence.
Well done. Very good. I'm impressed. So after Bure is
2 Grenadiers.
2 Grenadiers.
Which is done.
Any, we put that up already. Good. Witch's Dance, good.
Mignon.
Mignon,
Lily give up.
good. Who's here? Or is that just one?
Closest to wind.
How many have we done so far?
Got
What's
to
a Lily give
Lily
up?
give up.
So is it Minuet and G? Then I can
Yeah.
work it out if I've got the numbers in my head of where we got to. Of how many pieces in the book. But
I don't have the numbers in my
Yeah.
head, but I've got pieces.
No, nor do I. I have no idea.
Beret is 6. Oh god. 2
Yeah.
grenadiers
You're
is
right.
7.
I think it is Mignon.
Yeah.
So it's beret. What?
No.
No.
Yeah, so if beret 6,
Beret is 6.
2 grenadiers,
2 grenadiers is 7. British dance is 8.
mignon,
Mignon is 9. Lully is
10.
10. We've got 11 and 12 to go, so it's Beethoven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah, we just weren't going to tell you because I wanted you to do all that work that you just did.
Yeah.
Yeah, well done. Retakes?
Oh God.
Not is there a single retake? Is it a big retake piece?
No.
No. What do you mean?
Boccherini.
Is it a big retake piece?
There are retakes, yeah.
Yes, and I would add it to this because of the combination of the retakes and the
Octaves.
yes, exactly. Retakes,
Octaves and harmonics.
octaves and harmonics. Yeah.
Is
Good.
this one with the up bow retake?
Yes, it is. Well done. First up bow retake. Excellent. And book 3 very quickly, and then we can have. Well, no, we could do it slowly and then have a break.
Martini.
Martini for retakes.
No.
No, good. Next piece, Ed. You have also had a sneak preview.
I know, I'm getting confused with which ones these are. Minuet.
Thank you.
Bach minuet. The 2 minuets.
Very important for retakes or not?
No.
No. Maybe next piece.
Is it the Gavotte in G minor?
Good, yes. Important for retakes?
No.
No. Good. Next piece.
Euros.
Good. Important for retakes?
Well,
Yeah.
no.
Oh,
Apart from the.
I'm going to say
so,
yes.
yeah.
Second
Why?
Because you've got to do the lift.
Yeah, well, that's lifted strokes more generally, isn't it? It's not actually, strictly speaking, a retake. But yes, you've got to do Mimi.
On the G string.
Yeah. And
In third position.
in third position, your first rests in third position. Yeah. Good. On the G string and on the A string. Good. Next piece, Ed. After humoresque.
Becca.
Good. Important for retakes? No. Good. Next piece, Mimi.
Is it the Gavotte in D major?
Good. Important for retakes?
Yeah. In the oh, wait a minute. No, not really.
No.
No.
Good. Last piece.
Bach
Oh,
Beret.
I've just given it away.
Bach
Very
Beret.
important for retakes?
No.
No. Arguably, you've kind of got your retake skills by the end of book 2, and I mean, there isn't a piece that I can think of that is really working on retakes until the up bow retakes in book 5.
The chicken songs, I call it.
The chicken song. And then book 6, not really, and and then it's like book 8 by the time we get the Veracini, which we're not going to worry about right now. Okay, good. Well done, everyone. Not there just yet.
I'll be retired by then.
Shush. Suzuki teachers never retired. Did no one tell you this, Mimi? Right. Well done, everyone. Let's come back at 10:02. Please, can you take a picture? Oh.
Partially not.
Just recording our break.